people go to like fly to Turkey, get these little Barbie noses that look like two little shark gills. You can't even breathe from them.
I came to your office to interview you. That was when BBLs, the SCurve started. What do you think it was that made plastic surgery more acceptable?
To be honest with you, I always said booty is the new breast. One thing I never did was they'll make them too big, and it never looks right when it doesn't match the legs. When the legs and thighs come up to a nice, what I call the S-curve, a lot of people can't detect it, and that's how plastic surgery, in my opinion, should be.
So then what is now your most requested surgery?
I would say I've done S-curves on 75-year-old divorcees. So
you're never too late.
Yeah, exactly. If you're doing it only for someone else and it's not something you really want to do, those to me are the wrong reasons.
You're home with two young girls, teenagers. How do you have that discussion with them? How do you balance that at home? At what age do you think it's acceptable for a young lady or a young man to come to you and say they want something done? Oh my God, Dr. G, don't say that. I'm so excited for you guys to get to know me a little bit more and get to learn some more things about some of my favorite people in my life, industry insiders, because there is always more to the story. I'm Rocsi Diaz, and welcome to More to the Story. Hey guys, another amazing episode of More to the Story. I'm super excited today because we're gonna get to the bottom of some of Hollywood's deepest, darkest secrets. Yeah, you'd think they might have not gotten any work done, but they probably have, because this man knows how to keep all the secrets in Hollywood. I'll let a secret out right now. He's done work on me, okay? From rhinoplasty, which he did do on me, breast augmentation, yes, I got new tires, to BBLs and more. Dr. Ghavami, you've had all the A-listers in your office, but now today you're in mine. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Ready to get into it?
Yes, let's do it.
I don't think I ever asked you why plastic surgery, Dr. G. So how did this all start, even wanting to go into med school, your family background? Tell me.
Well, in my family, there's a lot of artistry. My great uncle was a singer. He played this old school Persian instrument called a tar. And my dad does like interior design, construction. My mom restored antiques. She painted from when I was a kid. There would always be her paintings all over the place. Oil paintings of cool, like almost vertical oriental type structured paintings. And then we always went to museums. And there was always somebody coming over. Wednesday nights, I'm trying to sleep as a kid. I got a test the next morning and they're up till 3 a.m. drinking tequila and someone's playing guitar and singing. So in my house, there was always music and arts. And I love anatomy, science, biology. I'm always fascinated by the laws of physics, how the world works, how things work. And the blending of that artistry, creativity with science and medicine and anatomy is plastic surgery. Nothing else comes as close. You can't get too creative when you're removing someone's brain cancer or when you're putting a new vessel for a heart bypass. You can't get that creative with it. But if you're making a nose, you're curving someone's body out, you're doing things to their face, you can get really creative. You can do innovative things. You can sometimes I'm doing surgeries which are almost fresh, something I haven't fully done yet, and it's very much artistry oriented.
Did you draw and sculpt a lot as a child?
I almost minored in arts when I went to college. I went to UC Irvine. I did take sculpting class. I did take basic drawing, and I always doodled, and I was just always doing something with my hands. And I played guitar since I was 14. So,
oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you're steady.
Yeah.
I know you're steady because.
Oh yeah.
You had to work on me before.
Exactly.
It didn't come out bad, Dr. G. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Of course.
10 years later.
Appreciate it.
A lot of people don't know where you and I know each other. I was just a little young whippersnapper here in LA, and I came to your office to interview you. At the time, I was working at Entertainment Tonight.
Yeah.
That was when BBLs, the S-curve, which you totally coined that phrase,
yes,
started. What do you think it was about that time in plastic surgery that made plastic surgery more acceptable? Because back in the day, you didn't talk about getting any work done. Now it's everybody knows you got work done.
Well, a lot of people still don't talk about it. I always say I'm part of the secret glam squad. I'm the glam squad member at the bottom. You're like, oh, I don't see his name. I'm there, trust me. No, around that time is when social media blew up. So when social media blew up, it became more accessible, more acceptable. Honestly, even celebrities have come out and admitted to certain things. There's some fairly big names that have actually been open about surgery, not just lasers and skincare I do, but actual surgery. And at that time, you were really good. You were killing it then, actually, with that. You interviewed me, had all the right questions. I created the SCurve because I actually wasn't trained in plastic surgery when I did my residency to do anything with the buttock. All we did with buttock was sometimes we did buttock lifts for people that lost a lot of weight from gastric bypass. But SCurve is my take on that BBL. At that time, fat transfer to the buttock or breasts was like unheard of. There was only one other guy in LA doing it, a few in Miami, the rest were in Colombia and South America. And to be honest with you, I've always said booty is the new breast, because back in the day, especially in Americana culture, you always saw Marilyn Monroe, James Mansfield, all the old school celebrities from the 50s, 60s, 70s carrying forward. That's all they showed. I mean, some of them were voluptuous. Then we went through the 60s, 70s, where it was this really low-waisted jeans showing your whole midriff, which is kind of making a comeback, which we'll get to because that's the petite S-curve. And then so fashion and body types, face types, hair, it all kind of evolves together. And at that time at Entertainment Tonight, when you interviewed me, it was all coming together in social media. Everybody was like, you know what? I love this curated breast look or this look for hair. I like booties that are really big. I like ones that are very gluteal oriented and very athletic, or some that are just like really voluptuous. One thing I never did, even though it was acceptable then, was though make him too big, because gravity always wins, and it never looks right when it doesn't match the legs. When the legs and thighs come up to a nice, what I call the S curve, then it's kind of like my whole motto, keep them guessing. Like, you don't have to admit to it. Even your trainer doesn't have to know. So a lot of people can't detect it, and that's how plastic surgery, in my opinion, should be. I don't do this kind of weird avant-garde designer stuff. Some people go to like fly to Turkey, get these little Barbie noses that look like two little shark gills. You can't even breathe from them. So I keep it real, and ironically, in medicine, I always tell my colleagues that are like brain surgeons, heart surgeons, a lot of times I'm like, I'm the most real, honest type of medicine surgery you can do, because it's like, this is the fee, this is the price, I'm gonna deliver, I'm gonna do an artistry thing. We're not gonna have to go bill insurance, we're not gonna have to code things out, I'm not gonna have to try to worry about getting paid to the hospital. It's very straightforward and honest, actually.
When you think about how accepted plastic surgery is, and especially this younger generation now, I'm glad that I waited till I was in my mid-30s to go see you and get my breasts done. At what age do you think it's acceptable for a young lady or a young man to come to you and say they want something done?
Well, I'll tell you, in the Persian culture, like sometimes it's a graduation gift, or like when you're about to graduate, you know? The families that have money, you get a white Benz or a BMW and a nose job. Like that's not uncommon, especially in the 90s, 2000s. So there's a lot, and I did one today. I do them all week long. Our teenagers, the most common thing for teenagers is ear pinning, which we can do at 9 or 10 years old because it's finished. People getting teased at school for that. Of course, we do cleft lip palate reconstruction. Someone that had a cleft lip, their nose is usually caved in, and I rebuild the nose, and that can happen at 12, 13, 14 years old. But in general, you're fully developed enough to do facial surgery around 16, 15 and a half, 16, 17. So nose jobs are very common as teenagers. Breast augmentation, things like that, I feel like someone should be a little more developed, not only mentally, but you know, our cortex that makes decision making happen, our frontal cortex, is not mature till we're 20, 22. So you can't really make full decisions honestly till then about a lot of things. So for me, for my practice, nose jobs happen in teen years because that's pretty straightforward. I mean, if the nose enters the room before you do and you're getting teased about it, I'm going to work with you. The parents come in, we're all involved. But as far as body surgery and all that, it can go into, I've done tummy tucks, I've done S-curves on 75-year-old divorcees. So
you're never too late.
Yeah, exactly. So, and my favorite though is, you know, if somebody comes in and they're trying to do this for like the wrong reasons, I mean, I'll be honest, a lot of people do come in and it's not a bad idea to get the ex a little jealous or something, a revenge body, that happens. But if you're doing it only for that and it's not something you really want to do, or you're doing it for someone else, or if you're doing it because your man wants you to, those to me are the wrong reasons. If I connect with someone and I know they're doing this for themselves, then it becomes just a continuum of everything else they do to improve themselves. Their skin, taking care of their hair, taking collagen, doing sauna, cold plunge. And sure, if you're not going to grow your breasts, you do breast augmentation. If
Right.
you have stubborn love handles, you've gone to a trainer for 2 years, people hate on the gram and they say, why doesn't she just do squats? That doesn't happen. You know, you can't just do squats and have your waist go from this square to a curve.
How much has mental health and, you know, plastic surgery played hand in hand? And is there ever a time where you tell people, I don't think this is what you need. I think you need to see a different type of help. It's not.
You know, to be honest, the ones that tend to be like that are the ones that have been through it already, where the surgery they've gotten almost is like they came out of Vietnam, or like there's some PTSD associated with it. And I can sense that. And you know, one of my guru mentors once said, if you can't make a patient smile at least once, like a genuine smile, and I try to be funny, you've known me for a while. If I can't make a patient smile once during a consult, I'm not going to operate with them. The other rule I use is if this isn't someone I wouldn't mind talking to at a wedding or an event for a few minutes and sitting down, having a drink and chatting with them, I may not want to operate on them. So I kind of go by those criteria. But yeah, the ones that have had 3-4 surgeries now, I'm an expert in revisions, and when you've been in the game as long as me, you're going to see people who've been, I hate the word botched because sometimes it's just something's a little off.
Yeah.
Botched makes it seem like it was just destroyed
Right.
and you need to salvage it. But someone who just needs more tweaking or a little more improvement, those ones are okay. But if someone's on their third, fourth, and they really don't have a reason to be, and they come in like stone-faced, not smiling, then I know they need to seek some other type of assistance and therapy. You know?
Why do you think that plastic surgery has had such a bad reputation in the past and now it's more acceptable?
Well, because like I said, good plastic surgery you don't detect. We can all name like immediately 3-4 people that are like, whoa, you know, and I don't want to mention any names, but that gives it a bad rap. But to be honest, you know, nothing against your industry, but media does focus on the sensational and the like amazement. The ones I do, they're so gorgeous, subtle in my opinion, and like just do it right, and it just like goes with their persona. Their own family at reunions can't detect it. That's not going to make headlines. But somebody who basically has no nose anymore, or whose butt is like this, that's going to make headlines.
Exactly. How much has being able to be associated with celebrities helped your business? Because I remember with Dr. G, you were a celeb, that's for sure. But this Dr. G now, 10 years later, is I'm lucky to get an appointment.
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate, you know, I take every single patient serious, whether it's like an A-list actress or whether it's a Grammy award-winning person, or whether it's a soccer mom or someone who's just struggling to make payments, who, you know, I treat them all the same. When I'm in the OR, that's my Zen moment. Honestly, I love being in the operating room. I still do. I wouldn't do this if I didn't. But I think it's helped, of course, because name recognition, but it's helped me more, I feel like, within the industry. Like my name circulates among certain people in certain circles, and those are the referrals I get. I literally have some major names, which we all know who they are, where they text me and say, I'm referring you so-and-so. I'm like, you mean the person I've idolized since I was 16? Sure, I'll see her, you know? So, you know, it's a privilege. It's a privilege because it's kind of surreal, because the work I'm literally doing from my brain, my eyes, and my hands on this person, and then they go on tour, or they go and do a photo shoot, or they go in Sports Illustrated, or they come out with a swimsuit line or something, and then I see them posted up all over. I'm literally driving, I'm like, she looks pretty good. Post-op check, post-op check. It's a good feeling, because that also influences the masses. And if it's tasteful, it's done right, and my work isn't influencing people the wrong, unrealistic way, then it's all good. And it obviously does help me, because it takes your business to a certain caliber. All businesses do. Even if I had a tire shop, and you know, someone rolled in who was a celeb and posted on the gram, this guy knows his tires, it's going to help that business. We all know that.
What's the most requested surgery now? And of course, like the trends have changed.
Yes.
Now skinny is back in. Nobody really wants the BBL look anymore. So how does that change your marketing scheme, and what do you start focusing on next?
I mean, everything always goes through what, you know, we call zealot phase, or where it just gets exaggerated, sensationalized, and then it plateaus a little bit. Because just like Ozempic, like everyone who doesn't even need it was on it, you know. Same with breast implants. In the 90s, you had these thin ladies putting these huge 500cc high profiles in because 10 years, 5 years ago, they were putting moderate, like okay looking ones. The same thing happened with the buttocks, like over exaggerated and just disproportionate. But you know, from when we did the SCurve thing on Entertainment Tonight, even that lady we posted walking outside that you all posted, I was marking and everything, she's still on my YouTube. Her butt was very realistic. Like people in her family didn't even know she had it done. So I called it petite SCurve, you know, or some people call it athletic BBL. I just don't like BBL as a word because there's no reason why Brazil has amazing, beautiful women and everything, but there's no reason why one country should get all the credit for nice buttocks. There's great buttocks all over the world. But if it's done tasteful, and back then I've always believed in not exaggerating it, honestly, my operation hasn't changed that much in my aesthetic. I never exaggerated anything. Huge breasts, like sometimes here and there, but in general, I don't agree with it.
What do you think about people, of course, like you said, the media over sensualizes, you know, bodies in general, and this idea of looking perfect. And it definitely has an effect on young girls too. I know for myself, I suffered with anorexia as a young girl. So when you have young girls coming into your office that may be dealing with body dysmorphia, how do you handle those specific type of situations?
You know, it's getting a little more difficult because it's becoming so common that it's hard to say that out of these 10 young teenage girls, that one has the problem. They're all using filters. They're all communicating with themselves via Snapchat. It's very rare. I mean, I have two daughters. I can speak about this, and she knows what her father does. Sometimes I'll be sitting at dinner and some like person she idolizes just comes on as like calling me, you know. So she knows kind of who I do, what I do, and even in her, she's like using filters, and she's like coming to me like, "Can we laser my skin?" Like, it's just part of growing up, you know. And I do think women have it a little bit harder from the time they grow up, even in today's society, to look a certain way and everything. But some of it is honestly linked and wired, programmed in our brain in genetics and evolution to recognize certain types of hips are like childbearing and go along with fitness. And fitness in evolutionary terms mean able to reproduce. When you see a woman that has good breasts, size breasts, and certain hips, automatically a lot of people are hardwired to think that's going to be better for reproduction, more success for reproducing, and things like that. So there's a hard wiring there. But for the teenage girls, I think we're going to find hopefully a balance, but it really has to start with the parents, number one, and then the schools too. The schools I don't think are doing the best job right now, but the parents are the key. And if we go back to trying our best to get that nuclear family and getting the household to have that structure and the support, then hopefully, like if the daughter sees a filter or sees unrealistic things, the dad and mom are there, they'll talk to her about it, be like, that's not good, that's not real, this is what's real, let's go outside and play, let's go out, take up a sport. But it's gotta happen as early as 6, 7 years old. I mean, 9, 10-year-olds right now know more than I did when I was 19 about sex and certain things, including positions and like toys and stuff. It's like, it's the information you get on social media and the internet, it's really hard to control.
You know, you're home with 2 young girls, as you said, teenager. How do you have that discussion with them with not yet, you don't need this, you're beautiful just the way you are, but dad is also in the operating room creating art and magic and making other people feel beautiful through surgery. So how do you balance that at home?
Well, we have art in the home. I play guitar, and there's nothing wrong with having certain personal tastes and aesthetics in your life. Like, you're put together, like, in my opinion, perfectly right now. And that's an aesthetic you like. There's an aesthetic I like I'm wearing Persian white and black. We always wear black. We always wear black. So there's a certain aesthetic you grow up with, certain aesthetic you hone and evolve as you get older. And I try to form the conversation more around, like, if that's what you want and that's really, you want that, then sure, I'll support you. I, in fact, operated on 2 of her friends and one of her cousins, her own age. I did their noses. They turned out great. Now they're posting selfies left and right without much filtering. So, but they were stable. I talked to them. I knew them because they grew up with her. I know the parents, and so I already know what the deal is with that. So I just basically tell them you shouldn't pin your personality, your like hopes, your future on your appearance, but you should always be healthy. You should work on your appearance. And if you want to curate a certain aesthetic for yourself, whether it's shaving the side of your head, whether it's coloring your hair, growing it long, extensions, one day French tip, one day red, rhinoplasty, it's all in a continuum of self-improvement. You know, I remember one time, this was an important lesson I gave my daughter. We were sitting at a diner and this kid walked by and looked over at her, and I think she was like 9 years old. And he said, "Wow, Mama, look how pretty that girl is." And she got so happy, so excited. I remember she was telling all of us, "Did you hear what he said?" She was all proud. I'm like, "That's phenomenal. But just remember, you don't ever need anyone else outside, especially a man, telling you you're pretty, because you know you're pretty. You don't need him to walk by and say that." So I've always given him that confidence from day one to know that it shouldn't come externally. But if you have a fire inside you that's telling you, I have no breasts, I just want breasts because I want to be able to go and wear aloe and work out and look good and feel good, there's nothing wrong with that.
Misconceptions about plastic surgery that I want to address, that there's no maintenance to it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that means we don't age. I mean, that's the thing. Like, people come to me, I've done their nose job maybe like 12, 13 years ago. I'm not going to say how old I am now, but I've been in the game almost 20 years now. It's crazy to say. They'll come in, they did their nose job like 10, 13. I see people at restaurants and I don't recognize them. And they're like, "Dr. Ghavami." I'm like, what's going on? What does she want? She's like, "I love my nose, thank you. I'm now coming in for my breast. My mom wants a facelift." It's kind of fun because I do the whole family thing. But like the longevity of it is basically like whenever they come in and they say, "My nose looks a little different," and their nose job was 15 years ago, I'm like, "Have you seen my hair?" Like, we're all gonna age. Gravity wins. We're all gonna have certain cells in our body that are gonna go through certain, like we call zombie cells. They just stay there. They don't do anything. They just either cause inflammation or cancer or aging. And that's why it's so important to be healthy. So I'm so big on like this whole biohacking, regenerative stuff. Like, I cold plunge, sauna. If I had a handful of supplements today I took, you gotta do what you gotta do. Like, we can't stop time.
Right.
You can just be the best you can be, but that's why I have job security, because you might need me every decade of your life going forward.
Clearly, because I'm going to come see you soon.
Exactly.
With that being said, waist trainers.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
We talk about
Yes,
headline
and we still
news.
are 10 years later
I
talking
know,
about waist trainers.
I mean, it's just like it's almost like foot binding. You know, in Japan they would do foot binding, and it made like the feet gnarly because their aesthetic was to get the feet really small in women. There was women with size 8 trying to be size 4. It's the same thing, you know. Actually, right now I'm looking into it. I'm not doing it yet, but there's very minimally invasive ways to actually move the ribs in a little bit.
Oh my God, Dr. G, don't say that.
There is.
What?
It's minimally invasive, doesn't hurt. I'm looking into it. But you know, we'll evolve with it, but waist trainers themselves, they actually weaken your muscles if you wear them a lot, because then your muscles get used to not having to be flexed. And so it's the opposite of being able to do planks. If you wear a waist trainer a lot, you're not going to be able to do a plank for more than 30 seconds.
So instead of waist training, what should you be doing?
Planks. You should be doing planks. You should be doing core. That thing that I hate, which is those saucer-looking things.
Yeah, like the
where you
ball.
move on the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, or when you do planks, you got to come up, touch, side plank. Like, the ancients knew what was up. I mean, if you look at yoga poses, I don't know if aliens created those or what, but they are beyond. They are so advanced in their thinking. If you just do certain simple yoga poses, do core, stay away from inflammatory foods and too many carbs, basic stuff. Fat is actually good for you. If it's healthy, actual, believe it or not, animal fat is good for you, avocados, but grass-fed. You know, animals aren't meant to eat corn. These kind of things can make you maybe not need me for 5-6 years, but maybe 10 to 15.
Women that deal with, or people in general that deal with high levels of bloating, and
it's all inflammatory. And I think right now in this day and age, because especially in America, we're good at a lot of things, but we're not good at food. And you got to do a food sensitivity test, especially if you live in the States, because there's so much processing and so many things. It's good to know that. Even shampoos shouldn't have parabens and phthalates, basically estrogens through hair. I mean, I always tell my male patients, like, just make sure you're washing with really organic shampoo that doesn't have that, no aluminum in your deodorant. All these things do matter. We're becoming a society where we're so used to this industrial inundated stuff and processed food. You're going to age yourselves faster, and you're going to need me sooner and more often. And there's only so much I can do. I can't do all this on you and then you go and destroy it and the investment because you're on the way home, you're getting Twinkies.
Yeah. What do you say to those people that say, hey, this waistband thing you put in me, this gastric bypass or this lipo didn't work. Yeah. Why doesn't plastic surgery work?
Well, lipo does work if, you could eat through your SCurve. If I did an SCurve and you just let yourself go, you may not get the love handles you had, but you're going to ruin that shape. It's interesting. Some of the celebrity patients I have, the like big name ones, they'll get pregnant and they'll come back and their buttock gets a little too big. So I'll do a slight reduction and relocation of that fat or throw some out. So, and celebrities, they travel so much, and unless they're in a business that involves their physique all the time or they're athletic by nature, they do come to me kind of often to fine tune and stuff because they honestly don't have the time to devote to the gym. You know how it is when you're that busy.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how you make it to Pilates like daily. I've seen at least 10 different fits in 1 week.
Mornings.
Yeah.
Early mornings.
Yeah. You're doing it right. Pilates is great.
Yeah. Thank you. Skincare routine and taking care of your skin just as important as you're taking care of your inside.
Yes, exactly.
Because you're getting really more into aesthetics as well.
Yes, yeah. So I have a whole med spa, GPS Aesthetics, and what we do there, I really try to push stimulating your own cells to do the right thing. There's a high, really concentrated beta-carotene supplement that I recommend. I'll tell you about it too. It's like Transform Me even. Like your skin will become more elastic. And then so we do skin because I always tell people if you don't have the skin right, and I do your nose job or your little cheek lift or little endoscopic camera brow lift, which I love doing very subtly. It's kind of like spending all this money on a Chanel couture dress, wearing it, and then it has coffee stains on it and wrinkles. Coffee stain is melasma, you know? So if you don't treat your melasma, it's like having this gorgeous, Jean-Paul Gaultier like bra, and then you spilled like Kool-Aid on it or something. Like that's not gonna work.
So at the end of the day, drink lots of
fluid and water. You don't necessarily have to do alkanized, but see what works for you. Experiment with different things. Keep a journal and see what's worked. Get a food sensitivity test. Realize what your ancestors come from. We kind of should eat how our ancestors were meant to. Like for me, a Mediterranean diet works. Olive oil for everyone. And there's certain things that don't work for me. I just know that. And you have to kind of know where we're from. We're meant to have a certain genetics. We know this because we know people from Japan that came here and started eating McDonald's, all of a sudden just became unhealthy and got cancers they never got, that their ancestors never got in Japan.
Right.
So hydration is obviously the number one. So many people walk around without it, but I tell even my staff, get a big Yeti and just bring it with you all day. You want to put some electrolyte powder in it, fine, but just water is key. Inflammation is the root of everything.
Yeah.
If your body is trying to handle something it doesn't want to handle, whether it's aluminum deodorant, whether it's estrogen type products on your skin, or even heavy perfumes that are, they disrupt your hormones, hormone disruptors. If it's battling all that and you got a little cell there that needs to die off but won't and wants to turn into cancer, your body's too busy trying to fix that.
Yeah.
So it's going to crash.
Totally. Last but not least, you see they're all over social media now. A lot of influencers doing these light treatments at home. Do they actually work?
The only light that's available for home, which is okay here and there, is red light. And red light, so here's the thing. The sun has all the wavelengths of light. It's far away. Sometimes it's not at the right place. Sometimes the ozone's depleted. Clouds are in the way, whatever. But the sun has blue, yellow, everything. So in my office, we do photobiomodulation. Prior to surgery, we do blue light, which is part of the sun, but it's blue light focused. So we're getting the good stuff out of the sun, directing it to you. So blue light's important for, less bacterial load and inflammation cutting down. Yellow light is good for bruising, swelling, inflammation. We do that post-lipo, post any bruising on the face from a rhinoplasty. Red light is what everyone knows. Red light increases vascular flow in the 600s, 500s with infrared and red light together. I do have one at home. If my back hurts, my elbow from tennis, I'll wrap it with red light.
Wow.
So it's okay to do a little red light at home here and there, and for hair, which I don't have the time to do, but next year, if we do this again, I'm hoping it's going to be growing. I'm trying some things out.
I love that. So the trend now is skinny.
Yeah.
Skinny's back.
Yeah.
So, but you're the master of the SCurve and the BBL.
You can still be skinny and get curves.
That's true.
Yeah.
So then what is now your most requested surgery?
I would say still for me, because people know what I do too, SCurve is still number one. Lipo is always number one. When we look at surveys with all the different society of plastic surgery, lipo always hits number one. Body contouring is always going to be number one. But the lipo I do is high def, like where we're sculpting, creating lines, but not exaggerated where we're trying to give people Ninja Turtle 6-packs, like 8-packs, 9-packs. They're just subtle, you know. I don't believe in the horizontal etching some people do because it doesn't line up, and if you gain weight, you're gonna have a bunch of KFC biscuits all over you. I'm serious. So you got to know your audience. Like if I know someone's not gonna, if they're gonna be like me and every now and then let themselves go because they're going on a 2-week vacay, they're not getting any of that stuff. So just subtle body contouring, but high def. So I'll define the elbows, the arms. A lot of these celebrities that come to me are obsessed for some reason, and their friends are with their arms. I never thought it was a huge deal, but for women,
Michelle Obama,
not having,
hello, the best arms ever.
Yeah. So I mean, if I guess, you know, and I always tell them, like, just because I'm getting rid of your arms doesn't mean you can't still cook. So they got the definition, the deltoids, the tricep, so you can define things. So lipo's number one. Rhinoplasty nose jobs are still major. They're still good because of selfies. And we were talking about my daughter and teens. They're always snapping themselves, different filters, trying it out. So they're looking at their jaw, facial shaping. They're looking at their cheek contour going up, jawline, cheek, facial shaping, along with the center of the face rhinoplasty, because the center of the beauty triangle is the nose. Right. The nose takes up the real estate. So the nose is there to kind of blend and make the eyes and everything come out. If it's still taken away from that, like in my culture, like my daughter, where it's a little bit on the larger side, it's disproportionate, that's probably number 2 most requested. And then the third is basically still breasts are very important for everybody, because if you don't feel confident filling out a bikini and bra shopping and you're just like, ugh, like this bra's like what, $200-$300, but for what? You know, they come and they literally, it's like the fastest, and I don't know if you interviewed me on Flash Recovery.
Yes. You did flash recovery on me.
Yeah, exactly. So, and your arms were ready right away. Yep. No Vicodin, no Percocet. Nope. See, just Motrin. So I still do that every day. And flash recovery is life-changing for people because within 30 minutes, you're filled out.
Exactly.
With implants under the muscle. So I would say it's basically body contouring with SCurves, but the way I've always done it, which is tasteful. Whether it's petite, athletic, doesn't matter. It's always going to go with you and your bone structure. The second is rhinoplasty and facial shaping. And the third is still breasts, whether it's lifting, augmenting. But in addition to that, you know, we do so many little things that I don't always post on the gram. And to be honest, I think I'm kind of shadow banned on the gram because I show body work.
Right.
Which is I got to call Mark Zuckerberg because that's just not right.
Not fair.
Because my patients that I'm operating on who have millions and millions of followers are not shadow banned. They're showing the work I did, but if I show it in a medical format before after, you're shadow banning it so no one can find me. It's kind of weird and surreal. So if you know him, you can call him. But no, but seriously, I think the main thing here is that the trends have not really changed that much. It's always been about body contouring. Rhinoplasty's been around since the 50s, 60s, but now it's accessible to everyone. And then people want good skin, facial shaping, they want tight skin. That's the holy grail in all of this, is that as we get older, if your body is not inflamed and the shape of your face body is good, the covering of it with the skin is tight, elastic, and doesn't deflate and drop. And that's all from the inside out. When someone's stressed, you can see it in them, right? When someone's tired, you can see it in them.
Dr. G, I know you're busy, but thank you for answering so many questions.
This was amazing.
And taking time.
You're always the best.
Oh, I love you. Plus,
Thank
I'm
you so
going
much.
to come to your office soon.
Of course, anytime.
Thank you
so much.